Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel PSYCH Content. I hope I was clear with the vague topic of false memories, or I must say it's not supposed to be called vague because honestly it's just a matter of fact that we do not possess ample knowledge about certain things like these and we tend to call them vague or other such words. The reason behind me taking up such not so talked about topics is to throw some light on them so that our perspective widens and we get a broader idea about how such things even take place. So let's just jump to our topic right away without wasting any more time. And the topic for today would be the causes of occurrences of such phenomena, that is, false memories. Sometimes the problem begins while the original event is still occurring. That is, while the memory is being encoded or while your brain is trying to store the information regarding a particular thing into itself. If the perception of an event is inaccurate, then it cannot be remembered accurately. Well, I feel this is something very obvious. If we are studying for a test and not actually paying heed to the words of the text, then there are many chances that we will not be able to recollect it at the right time. This is something you all can relate to. Or another example, an eyewitness who is asked to accurately remember a scene, a crime scene to be more precise, she may have seen the perpetrator only briefly. The same example that I quoted from the last video. In the dark, from a distance, and while experiencing stress, of course, all these conditions, as said before, reduce her ability to see him in the first place, which will in turn drastically reduce her ability to identify him. This is how wrong perceptions or false encoding plays a role in giving rise to false memories. I took this example again so that I could, establish a link between both these videos. I just wanted to show you guys that through this example and through the test example that I just quoted above, that there are times when we do not encode certain information correctly into our brains, and that is the reason why we're not able to make use of them at the right time. Now we will be moving on to other causes of false memories as well. I'll try to explain this particular cause with another simple example, but a highly reliable demonstration. This is a classical example of this cause and has been proven that when people are made to hear or read a list of words like bed, rest, awake, tired, dream, wake, snooze, blanket, doze, yawn, etc., later on, people claim sleep. The word sleep was also on the list, even though it was not presented. I hope you're able to understand what I'm trying to say. In these dozen of words that I've just mentioned above, for example, bed, rest, awake, tired, dream, wake, snooze, etc., here the word sleep has not been mentioned, but through this experiment, researchers have found out that later on people do claim, they do report the fact that sleep was also mentioned on the list, even though it had not been presented. Humans are biased to extract meaning from events. Example, that the list contains sleep related words, and this may lead to confusions about what was inferred versus what actually happened. I hope you can understand. I have given a set of words which are sleep related but not sleep. All these words are sleep related, of course, but they are not definitely sleep. What happens is we as human beings are biased to extracting meanings from certain events. We often jump to conclusions. So, this is the reason why when you hear sleep related words, you tend to also add the word sleep onto the list, even though the sleep word has not been mentioned. This is what happens. These such conditions, they lead to confusions, wherein the result being we get confused between the things that have not happened and things that have happened. So I hope this example helped you link this particular cause with the tendency that gives rise to false memories. And oh yes, I forgot, this cause is called inference. And the example above shows how inference, this cause, inference, helps play a role in false memories. We now jump to another cause, and that's similar to inference, popularly known as interference. Try to think for yourself as to what can this particular cause talk about, because I know the name is pretty self-explanatory. If you cannot, I will still continue. Interference plays its role when we have retrieved a piece of information into our heads pretty long time back, and the other information that's also living in our heads also starts to interfere with it. If you remember, I had given an example in the first video of the series as to how time plays its role into tarnishing our memories. With due course of time, we tend to mix up certain things. I know you all can relate to this. For example, if you happen to have been a Spanish student in your high school and you are now learning French. For example, you're an undergraduate student and learning French, but have been a Spanish student in high school. So what happens is, Spanish words and its memories may tend to interfere with the French knowledge. And things might tend to mix up. So this is how simply interference comes into play. That's it. This was the easiest of the causes. Moving on. This is perhaps the last cause for this video. I would be stating the role of similarity in causing false memories in us. This is a pretty lengthy example, but I'm sure you all are going to still relate to this because this is pretty relatable. Imagine that a witness to a crime sees the criminal in clear daylight. Perfect daylight, daytime, the witness sees the criminal and gives a description of the man to the police. Everything sorted. Later, the police apprehend a man fitting the description. Example, 6 foot, white man, no facial hair, etc. And puts him behind bars. So I hope this is clear. There's a witness. She sees a criminal in clear daylight. She gives a description about that person to the police, and the police arrest that person and put him behind bars. However, there's a change in this plot. Several years later, after being captured in an unrelated incident, another man who looks like the convicted man confesses. Yes, he confesses to the original crime and also possesses information about the crime that only the perpetrator could know. Now here's a twist in the story, that after the person has been put behind bars, after a few years there's this another man who comes forward and confesses his crime and also gives proof that he is the criminal because he has certain information which can only be possessed by a criminal. So this is a very, what you can also call it, a blunder. In this case, the man originally convicted of the crime was falsely recognized because of his similarity to the actual culprit. Right? This is the most obvious cause that could have led to this, because the original person was very similar to the criminal. His facial, his maybe his bodily lookouts were very similar to the culprit, and that's the reason why police arrested him. Yeah, I know this sounds weird and ghastly because it is so crazy that how can a person who's not even committed a crime be put behind bars? But things also happen this way, This is how the mind works. These are certain games that the mind plays with us. While this is a hypothetical example, much laboratory researches show that exposure to similar events can create illusionary memories, with the person confusing the original event, as the example I just stated above. With this, I would like to end this video, which rightly talked about the possible causes of false memories, and I would also like to give out a message to all my viewers that after looking at this video, I would want you all to be a little more patient and considerate when you come across such people, and situations wherein you've got two contrary cases. Consider one of the cases to be a false memory one, and don't just accuse the person for forgetting. If you happen to come across a person whom you feel has forgotten something, you don't have to just accuse the person for being a forgetful forgetful person by nature and all of that. You just consider this small advice from my side, and just don't accuse the person. Give time to the person to recapitulate and stuff like that, because things happen in this way. We should be a little more considerate to people from our sides, because you don't know what might be going on into a person's life. So the least we can do is just be kind as much as possible. Since we've just read about the causes, and it's pretty much possible that one of the above cases might have acted with the person as well. So it's okay if people forget things. You should just help them retrieving them. Be a good person. See ya.